Hey, welcome back to the garage here at Basin Motorsports. Today, well, I'm going to do something kind of crazy. I'm going to put a set of LED off-road lights on the front of my Corvette Z06. Now, this is going to be a little odd to everybody else, but I am kind of taking my Corvette towards a cyberpunk theme. Now, I've already done a video, which I'll throw a link up there in the corner, to kind of designing a set of tail lights towards that. Well, if you do a lot of searching for cyberpunk theme, a lot of times you're going to come up with pictures that look like this. And one thing you're going to find in the front of them is they typically have some kind of light bar. Now, it could span the whole width of the car. It could be a couple fog light-ish or on the bottom pieces. Well, of course, on this one, on the Z06, if you're familiar with them, you know the front grills are, I don't want to say fake, but they really don't have a purpose. On a different kind of a base model C5, the grills themselves typically have a fog light. The Z06 has kind of some grills in there. And really, if you've ever looked inside there, they don't actually do anything. They don't improve cooling because it's a bottom feeder from under the bumper. If you've ever looked under there, you know, or sucked up some bags, some plastic bags up in your radiator, you know that these grills actually really serve no purpose. So we're going to put a set of off-road LED lights in there, and these are going to be a set of 12-inch. Now, of course, I love to shop on Amazon, so I went and found a set of 12-inch LED lights that are on Amazon. I'll put links down in the description to show you what I'm using. But these are pretty slim, right? They're a little bit over an inch in height, which gives me plenty of flexibility in order to put them down in the grills. So these are 12-inch lights by, they're about 14 by the time you put on the markers here. Now, by using the brackets that they come with, they can be spaced a little bit up into the center of the grill. Now, there's some different options here. I put it up on Instagram, and somebody that deals with lighting a lot more than I do, well, they said put it in the center, and I totally agree with that. So what I'm going to do is just use the center grill piece here and use this. I'm going to center it height-wise, width-wise, so it's in the center. And then they don't come with wiring, so I bought a wiring kit. Now, again, this is off Amazon. This is a pre-done kit for 2 lights, and they are for less than 100 watts each. So the lights themselves are under 100 watts, and these have a switch on the inside that I need to snake through the firewall, and then I'll put this in the center console just to be easy to go. Now, before we get started, I really need to kind of take everything apart so it's easy to go through. If you ever want to take your grills off, I'm sure you've all thought, wonder how that's done. There's 2 screws here on the bottom. These are something like an 8mm head size. Just check down in there. These holes on the outside, they go to the harness that runs underneath it. So you'll have to take those out, just kind of pinch the tops, push them down. 2 screws, and then on top here, they are 2 metal spring clips. You can just use a set of pliers and pull them off. Now, to get into the grills themselves here, there's a few ways you can do it, right? You can go down through this light here, but you have to go through the bottom edge down here or the wheel well in the back. It's going to be your choice of how you want to do it. I went through the bottom a little bit, through the wheel well, took this light out because my arm can fit inside here, and it was pretty easy to take this grill out. Gives me some flexibility to work, to kind of figure out things, but it's going to be a little difficult to install things, all the screws and everything like I want to, but it's going to be worth it in the end. So in order to do this, I'm going to go ahead and take out this wheel well on the passenger side here, take all that out just to get it out of the way so I can get into the wiring, make it a little cleaner. My plan is to run everything up here. So I already have, goes to my amplifier so I can come off this lead here for the positive. There is a ground down in there that I can use for the negative for the relay that comes in the harness. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this battery out. And I'm going to take the wires in exactly where this goes into the cabin. So it's going to snake down underneath the firewall. We'll then bring the harness in through the bottom here. And then I'll put this switch down in here. I'll just make a dummy panel here off the 3D printer, use it so it snaps in, and then it's all going to be good to go. And if I don't want to use it, well, I just put the cover down and you don't know it's even there. So with that, I need to take the time to get all of these panels taken apart, wheel well liner out. I will then, I guess, go ahead and take the battery out because I don't need it necessarily. Then I'll go ahead and take the grills out. Then I'll go ahead and get the wiring all run. And I'm going to go ahead and put the lights in. And before I snug everything down with the fasteners, I'm going to go ahead and double check it. So I will lower this to the ground to make sure it's what I like. Since it's on the quick jacks, it'll take it right down to about ride level. I can then test them before I pop the battery out. Once everything's good there, I'll run the wire after taking the battery out, and then we'll finish this up. All right, well, this escalated quickly. Like I said, I was just going to go ahead and mount those lights up, do it everything with the bumper on the car, and, well, couldn't really get my arms in there to do everything I wanted. So, well, unfortunately, I took the front bumper off, but everything is done. So from the back side, you can now see that the lights are in the grills, and from this side, they look like they're biased towards the inside or the middle of the car, and in fact, they are balanced from the grills on the front side. Now, in order to do this, I just measured everything out. Started just piece by piece, doing a hole here, hole there, and making everything fit. Now, in order to do this, you see the lights there are mounted in the blades, or I guess the kind of mounts that they have. They are actually on the inside versus the out. Now, these are made to go to the outside there, but you don't have the width on the grill. So I flipped the brackets around so they're pointing inside or inwards, and then the lights are against the screen, and then the bolts come up from the bottom. Now I do have some really super strong tape on the bottom there to make sure those bolts don't come out, but everything's blue Loctited together, and everything's there. Everything's wired up, so now I just need to put the bumper back on, make the connections, and then worry about connecting to the battery in the inside of the car. With the bumper back on the car now, everything is back run together. Now I went ahead and put the corner lights back on while the bumper was up on the workbench. Heck of a lot easier to get in there with my hands. The lights are now in the grills. So you can see there the lights are good. Everything's in. Everything's back together. Now I'm going to show you the wiring. You can see the wiring kind of snakes up here next to the OEM harness. That's the black one with the plastic covering. Goes underneath the coolant. Back under here underneath the wall, so it comes in there. You can see it down in there, comes up. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the battery connection here, and there's a ground down there for the relay, and then I just have the relay right there. You can see there's a screw holding it, so it's just kind of put over that. Now the wiring harness itself goes down under the battery, comes snaking down in here behind this panel where your ECM is, and it goes in through the kick plate. Now you can see the fender well, everything's tucked up in there. You don't see anything, so it goes across the top, up, and back into the console area. Here is the switch itself. So it's a 3-wire switch. Now I'll say this harness here is not what came with the kit. It wasn't long enough, so I went and cut and snipped off the extra connector, which is this. Then took off this harness, which went up to from the connector to the switch, which is 3 wires, and it's just now wired to the switch. So the next thing I did was grab my calipers there, my vernier calipers, took some notes here about diameters and holes of everything else, and then went over to Fusion 360, made up just a simple finisher, just a simple rectangle with a hole in it that the switch will fit through. And then I came over to my 3D printer and tried to print that. Now, I did have a major failure. You can kind of see all this black here. That is the PETG that I was going to print it in, and I had a big failure. So I went in for lunch, left it running, came back out, and it had ate itself for dinner. So I just turned it off, and I've got to clean all this up and try to reprint it. Now with that, I'm going to call it good for now. I will get that finisher fixed, but it's not key to everything because watch, the switch works. And it does turn the lights on. So these are the 12-inch, kind of the LEDs. They have very good brightness, even though they're behind the grills. The grills are actually going to keep the lenses protected. Just show you it's lighting up all my big pile of stuff over here. But they're pretty good. Now these lights are a 60 watt each, and this harness is rated for a 90 watt each or 180 total. So I've got 260 watts, and you think about your low beams are a 55 watt, or most of the lights you're going to put in there or your LEDs or anything else, they're a 55 watt bulb. So I essentially added one more headlight to it. The key of this is I'm not really sure what the cutoff is going to be, so these might be blinding to oncoming traffic, and I won't know until I really get on the road, which I'll do some later testing and showcase that. But this is all done. This is towards the cyberpunk theme that I wanted. So if you guys have questions on this, I put down in the instructions or the description, the links to Amazon for the lights that I bought. They're the same one. It's just 2 12-inch. I bought those, and then the harness. And again, the harness is going to have to be lengthened a little bit just in order to make sure it's going to get up to the console. Not bad. I think it was probably somewhere in the 4-foot range. So just know you have to do that along the way if you're going to do exactly like I did. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by. If you guys have any questions or comments, throw them down below in the comment section. Otherwise, see you next time.